Thanks everybody for coming. I'm not going to waste much time on introductions, but this is going to be a really nice departure into gamification in the real world, which is not something we've seen much of yet, but it's fascinating. So I want to welcome Dave Cobb. He's the Senior Creative Director at Thinkwell, an awesome guy. He also won a prize already today in one of the earlier sessions, so he's a good gamer. So please welcome Dave. Thanks.
Howdy, everybody. How y'all doing? Good? Everybody's got the food coma going on. Nap time. They need those blue mats in the corner. Once again, I am Dave Cobb. I'm the creative director, senior creative director for a company called Thinkwell. We are a very strange little multidisciplinary firm in Los Angeles, California. We do everything from fountain shows to flume rides to live events to theme parks to museums to dinosaur shows. Recently, we opened the Making of Harry Potter, which is a 150,000 square foot, 3.5-hour permanent behind-the-scenes attraction located at the very studios in Leavesden in the UK where all 8 movies were filmed. And we are currently designing a 100-acre theme park in Beijing where over 40 ride shows and attractions will bring to life the legendary 16th century Chinese stories of the Monkey King. But enough of the sales pitch. You can go to our website to learn more. We do a lot of weird stuff. We're very multidisciplinary and strange. But when I describe what I do to people, what I do for a job, not to people, the response I usually get is, so you design roller coasters. Well, that would be like saying that every single body at NASA is a rocket scientist, which isn't quite incorrect, but not precise enough. My answer would be, actually, I tell stories with roller coasters, which makes them even more confused. Theme parks need writers? What's going on? Well, they do. They actually need writers and a lot of very other interesting people, because if there's a science or discipline you can think of, I guarantee you we've used it in some prototypical form in a theme park or attraction before. What we do is highly prototypical, and we synthesize ideas from a lot of different worlds. We're not the first people to do this. I owe my job, of course, to Walt Disney in 1955 when he created Disneyland. And he was taking techniques from movie making, live theater, stage illusions, and the trickle down from lots of burgeoning tech at the time, like industrial controls, robotics, later on simulation, 3D special venue film. Walt evolved and expanded his media empire to include live real-world attractions, so bringing things to life that guests had never seen before and telling his stories dimensionally in the real world as experiences. They came up with the term Imagineering, obviously, to describe this unique blend of technology, magic, and storytelling in social, physical places. He's not the first, of course. It's basically theater. From Winsor McKay's animated Gertie the Dinosaur to Renaissance and Arabic automata, all the way back to the Greek Deus Ex Machina, technology has always been used in the service of live spectacle and storytelling. The difference is Walt Disney pulled down the proscenium. The real world became magical. Disney took the raw mechanics of amusement and added emotional context and stories. Spinning carnival rides became flights with Dumbo. Roller coasters became bobsled rides to the Matterhorn. They were all stories to tell, not just pieces of machinery. The crass hodgepodge of the Midway gave way to the orderly, aspirational, reassuring theater of the Magic Kingdom. And of course, Disney attractions are not rides, they are attractions. They immerse you in a story and through a sophisticated combination of theatrical, psychological, and technological trickery. These stories started mostly as passive stories, operettas, if you will, operettas of known commodities like pirates and haunted mansions that were to be observed from the safety of doom buggies and pirate boats. But as audience sophistication levels changed, Disney changed their game. By the 1980s and 90s, they became first-person narratives where guests were actively written into the story, perilously caught up in the Death Star trench battle in Star Tours, or spelunking cursed temples with Indiana Jones. Universal Studios similarly jumped on the bandwagon, evolving their sleepy 1960s behind-the-scenes tram tour into an increasingly perilous collection of shark attacks, earthquakes, and giant monkeys that brought the stories and magic of the movies to life in really unique, immersive ways. And when DVD extras made behind-the-scenes tours irrelevant, Universal Parks became full-on sensory assaults from giant robots, tornadoes, fire, ancient mummies, and flying dragons. Still, the trend was always story-based. Story drove the boat. Even amongst the peril and technological pizzazz, you dove into adventures and came out the other end safe and sound with a tale to tell your friends and family. And it's not just theme parks that were affected by this sort of participatory change of expectations from audiences. Science museums, touring exhibits, planetariums, and aquariums are a huge part of my business. More and more, they compete regionally, dollar for dollar, alongside theme parks as the same sort of social, entertaining third space that people want outside of work and home. So museums became less about boxes full of dead stuff and became more like theater, using immersive and interactive techniques to inspire and educate guests. So enough with the brief nerdy history lesson. What we do is totally different from you guys. We're not software developers. We work in meat space, and we use technology, story, environment, and social catharsis to create a participatory kind of entertainment. And as gamification evolves, audiences are evolving along with it, and it's becoming a potent tool in our arsenal. The possibilities are really exciting for us because we don't build one widget and distribute it digitally to millions of users. We actually create one place that we want people to come to. So we're smaller, we're walled gardens, and we're places where you get kinds of entertainment that you can't get from your game console or smart tablet or phone. Our locations are where group interaction and engagement is already part of the experience, so we can go a little farther with the ask, if you will, for asking people to participate in game-type situations. Theme parks took an early step towards this during the last decade with shoot-'em-up style video game rides like Buzz Lightyear, Men in Black, Scooby-Doo, and Toy Story. The simple addition of accumulating a score while you rode a ride made these experiences extremely repeatable. And the simple shooting gallery game mechanic made it open to gamers and available to gamers and non-gamers alike. And this is really important for us because we have a very wide demographic. We're not the long tail. We can't choose which audience member we want to engage. It has to work for everybody and people individually, which I'll explain a little bit more later. But shooting galleries are only one kind of game, and it's really only the beginning for how we're applying game logic and game techniques in themed entertainment. Two recent projects from Thinkwell, from my company, are good examples of how we use gamified techniques within location-based environments. Other companies are doing cool things too, and I'll go over some of those as well. Alternate reality games are redefining the boundaries of what a location-based experience needs to be. Sometimes that's not permanent. An off-Broadway show is gamifying Shakespeare, believe it or not. And Disney is, of course, moving into the future of gamified experiences with some of their own tricks that are rolling out this year. First up are two of our projects. In 2006, we were challenged by the Atlantic City Pier to create an attraction that will draw people to a dead zone. They had a dead spot at the end of their retail area, and they wanted a fountain show. Well, we decided to up the game. And while any fountain show would have worked, we partnered with Carnegie Mellon and their Entertainment Technology Center and developed hardware and software that had never been developed in the fountain industry before. And because in addition to hourly pre-programmed shows, the fountain actually plays interactive games with the audience using multiple imaging and sensing technologies. Guests discover these games simply by walking up to them. There's no instructions, there's no narrative. It's completely nonverbal. The fountain responds to their movements and slowly builds into different games as crowds start to gather. If there's a show every hour, at the 15, 30, and 45-minute point, the game changes and it invites more people in. So from simple follow-me games with single viewers to massively multiplayer color wars and group dance competitions, it builds the audience for every hourly show. As I said, while any fountain show would have offered a certain level of attraction, this created something that's a talking point that creates engagement and actually creates repeatability and word of mouth for something that would otherwise be something people only go see once. The other added benefit that the mall loves, it actually raised the value of the tenant spaces surrounding the fountain. Next up is Nature Quest. This is a museum exhibit for the Fernbank Museum of Natural History in Atlanta. This was a really interesting challenge. Atlanta has one of the most vibrant urban forests in the country, but the kids that live in Atlanta wouldn't know it because they don't go outside enough and they're kind of scared of the forest. So this museum had an old kid space that was very old 1980s CRT touchscreen technology. It was looking a little ragged, and they wanted us to come in and redo it. So rather than use typical didactic museum signage and presentational video, Nature Quest actually turned museum content on its ear. The entire space is an accurate theatrical representation of the different biomes of Atlanta. Everything you see in the space, down to the leaves on each mural, all of those leaves are species accurate to the region. So the entire space is a teaching point. And through different technology and sound and touch and sight, we can immerse visitors in this nature-inspired environment that comes to life around them. A river of projected fish responds to every step. Animated animal habitats are integrated into scenic environments. When you look into a log, you see them living inside. Augmented reality night vision goggles reveal unseen animals crawling around the space as you pan through the building. RFID acorn shells and eggs reveal what they'll grow into when kids place them in front of a magic mirror. So there's lots of cool technology, but some of it's just pure analog. We actually created a scavenger hunt through the space with challenge cards that parents can pick up and follow through the space with their kids. The great thing about that is it's scalable. We can have one set of challenge cards for 2-year-olds, another for 4-year-olds, another for 10-year-olds. They can change them by demographic, time of day, grade level, seasonality. This space now becomes infinitely changeable. No matter how many times kids go through it, it's always a different experience. We've basically gamified the Children's Museum. Sometimes creating a location-based experience isn't about a permanent location at all. You're probably familiar with 42 Entertainment and the work they've done on the Dark Knight ARG and I Love Bees, the Halo ARG. This was one they did for Disney's Tron. And what was great about this one, in addition to being a global gamification and collaboration of the movie, where players from all over the world competed for real-world prizes that they would be sent and real-world drops like a typical ARG, the reason the location-based industry took notice of this one is because those games led to 2 attractions. They led to Flynn's Arcade and the reveal of the Light Cycle in 2009 at Comic-Con, and the following year at Comic-Con, a replica of the End of Line Club from the movie. So this game manifested itself as a real-world attraction that you can only go to if you won the game. And so the theme park industry has something called the Thea Awards, which is like the theme park Oscars. And this won one because we realized this is about creating magic in the real world that may or may not be permanent. Outside of theme parks, we also have Sleep No More, which is by a off-Broadway show that creates, it's from a UK theater company called Punch Drunk. They're really exciting folks. They create these site-specific immersive experiences with epic storytelling inside sensory theatrical worlds. The show basically is an immersive retelling of Macbeth, mashed up with sort of a Hitchcockian 1930s film noir feel. But the audience doesn't watch it from afar. They're actually thrust into the experience following a cast of 20 through 5 floors and over 100 fully propped out and theatrically lit rooms. The action's overlapping, completely nonlinear, and the audience follows the actions of the characters at their own discretion, wearing masks that give them the social permission to be completely silent voyeurs as you watch the show. They've, in effect, gamified a stage play into a nonverbal participatory piece of choreography where no 2 viewers ever have the same experience, and the emotional narrative is up to the guests to piece together themselves. Even more exciting, MIT Media Lab was recently invited to add a whole other layer to this, of a layer of digital trickery by embedding RFID chips inside the masks that activate certain effects for content-rich stories that are audience member specific. And then lastly, of course, Disney has a lot to say on this issue, and they are rolling out what they've been working on for the last 4 or 5 years called the Next Gen Initiative. It's starting out as something called Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. It's basically a story-based alternate reality game overlaid on the world's most popular theme park, the Magic Kingdom in Orlando, Florida. About 14 million people a year go through that park, and they're basically creating a game that is a card-based ARG that uses hidden and embedded play points throughout the park. So when kids show these cards to these play points, Magical Illusions and Media Interactives unlock a story that pits the Disney villains against the guests, and the villains are all trying to wrestle control of the park. So kids have to fight and save the Magic Kingdom. These cards right now, it just started in March. These cards are free, but you can bet they're going to charge for them later, and you'll have upcharges for different games that you get to play as you explore the park. Now, you've probably also heard of Fast Pass, which is Disney's system of line reservation, where you put your ticket in and it spits out a time for you to come back to get on a ride. Yay, I don't have to wait in line so much. And everybody perceives that as a guest benefit and a guest amenity. And it is, but it was not created as such. The software to develop Fast Pass was actually paid for by the food and beverage and retail group of the Disney parks, because the less time you spend in line, the more time you're going to be spending in the park spending money. So they are expanding that system into an RFID wristband that is going to become your hotel room key, your resort-wide charge card. If you're willing to opt in your kid's name and birthday, guess what? Cinderella will know her name when she walks up to her, because it'll be fed to her through an earpiece as the kid walks up. Or if they ride Small World on their birthday, all the dolls will sing happy birthday and say their name, because they're making personalized experiences as part of this upcharge. That all sounds great. Again, guest amenity, guest benefit, layers of content. That's awesome. Guess what else it does? Metrics. We get to follow people through that park. They're going to know every place they go to. They're going to know every dollar they spend. They're going to know which dwell time, how many characters they dwelled at, which one they like more. Disney's going to work this system like you can't believe, and a park visit to a Disney park in 20 years, 5 years, is going to be vastly different than it is right now. So what's next? Are games really going to eat people into virtual spaces? Are theme parks and location-based entertainment doomed to analog real-world meat space obsolescence? Are we going to do that? We know that's not true. Everybody in this room knows that's not true. People don't want digital isolation. They want to take their digital world with them into the real world. And what's great about this for us, because the desktop metaphor is dying and this becomes a supercomputer in your pocket, that gives us an incredible opportunity because we can suddenly tie that technology to their visit to a museum or a theme park or anything we want. So a physical space can react to a guest at a personal level. The trick is to not overshadow that experience. The reason people go out is to see those real-world experiences. So we can use it to augment, enhance, and transcend the physical space alone. Like I said, we're site-specific, though. We're brick and mortar. We don't build a widget that we can roll out and multiply by millions and distribute digitally all over the planet. We build one and hope that millions of people come to it, which is why at Thinkwell, a little sidebar here, we define our audience with an analogy of 3 types of swimmers. Your first kind of audience is a waiter. They are an average audience member who wants an experience, but they're not going to exert too much to get it. This is, by and large, the largest part of our audience. Not everybody that comes to Walt Disney World is going to do a gamified experience or want to, because they may not care. Next up, you have swimmers, they're slightly more avid. They're game to try new things. These people are probably going to engage a little bit more. And then lastly, you have divers. These are go-getters that want to get every level up and every badge possible. In the theme park world, we actually have a 4th one, but we say it sort of casually. We call them mer people, because those are the people who have been underwater far too long and have grown gills and don't breathe air. Those are the super duper fans that you're probably going to piss off, but you're not going to lose them. So the trick is, we need to make our experiences fit all of these people. They need to have something for everybody and something unique to offer each one of them, but appeal to all of them as a group. I can't make a game that's for hardcore people only. I can't make a game that's for casual players only. I need to run the gamut because our audience is very wide. Gamification, though, can help us. Game dynamics and embedded technology in physical spaces can have layers of content that can adapt to guests as they play or personalize to their preferences or demographics. Museum exhibits that change their content if you walk up to an exhibit and it changes based on your age or height or gender. Park-wide alternate reality games that are scalable from casual to hardcore gamers. Lots of story depth for hardcore, less so for waiters. Gamification helps us remove boundaries and create real-world experiences that can automatically adapt to different kinds of swimmers. We create places with stories and can now transform and innovate them specifically through gamified systems. And we believe that that in all of our kind of designs, that people seek out-of-home, third-place entertainment for 5 basic reasons. First, spectacle. Wow, I can't get this home. I have to see this. Games can actually help that. They become personalized, socially shareable accomplishments by seeing all this really cool stuff in the real world. They go out for community, the catharsis of being in a real group, and about reacting to things and reacting to entertainment as a group, either with family and friends or even strangers. Gamification can help that. We can have competition or sharing with friends or even with people that aren't there. Regardless of location, we can connect with like-minded players who enjoy the moment as we're enjoying it. The third place, again, I can't stress this enough, that places that are unique are what people seek out. If it's the same as they can do at home, they're not going to go out of their house to do it. But games can help us with that. We can have site-specific games that create personalization and a one-on-one connection with a physical place, and then extend the use of that place and the marketability of that place beyond the 4 walls. People also want moments in time defined by the other 3 things. They want to know that their time is well spent. Gamification extends that time beyond the visit and entices them to come back with certain gaming options. And lastly, and this is a biggie, people will always pay for a quality premium experience, and gamification is something we can do that's value added. It's what Disney's doing. They're making it an upcharge and enhancing their existing products, enabling premiums and getting people to come back again and again. So just to wrap up, we believe that there's a potent social, psychological, and cathartic need for the third space, be it a mall or a museum or a theme park or a shopping area. And at Thinkwell, we know that the next plateau of this is going to be about responding to those emotional human responses, the intangibles that drive audiences to particular places, and how we push their buttons in that place is something that's changing all the time. We want to harness the emotional power of physical places, the compelling power of storytelling, and the social power of games to create lasting, meaningful experiences. That's my time. Thanks.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. Are there any questions for Dave?
None at all.
Anyone?
I've stunned you.
Come on, that was some cool stuff. I know
it's the tie,
it's
right?
got you all
it's the
thinking.
Tie. I know, I'm sweating like me in church at the moment, but I'm not going to lose it. I'm going to save it for fashion. Suffer for my fashion. Yeah.
Do you see Thinkwell and perhaps other like-minded organizations extending what you do to, say, even educational institutions, maybe a school or
Absolutely.
a hospital? Or?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, all of the museum work we do is 99% educational, be it a science museum or a natural history museum. And Nature Quest is a perfect example. That had to fit Georgia Board of Education guidelines. And we had to create layers of content that could be used as teaching moments for schools. So part of developing that, all the time when we develop educational spaces in museums, the local education market is part of that. And for that to become an asset for schools is awesome. And so we design that into the experiences as we go.
Okay, great. I've got another one here.
I'd love to hear you talking about storytelling. Can you share with us some of the tools that you use to design for great stories?
Well, you know, it's funny. I get a lot of kids in school email theme park nerds, foamers as we call them, because they foam at the mouth. They're so excited. They send us kids in design school send me email saying, "Hey, what software do you use to design theme parks?" And I can guarantee you, it's everything you guys use. There's nothing different. There's nothing proprietary. It's theater. It's CAD, it's Illustrator, it's Photoshop, there's really nothing proprietary other than we are telling stories dimensionally. There are no scene cuts or camera wipes or cuts or edits or curtain down. There's no proscenium. So it's about looking at how we can tell a story without a narrator that happens around people. From the moment you walk into a theme park like Disneyland, you're experiencing a story all day long until you go out. Now, story is a loaded word. A lot of people think that means A to B narrative, and I don't. Can anybody tell me the story of the Haunted Mansion? It's an operetta. There's no linear story there. But for us in the experience industry, that total guest experience, not just the rides and shows and attractions, but the moment they step foot in to the moment they come out, gamified techniques in social media allows us to tell the most important story of all, which is everybody's individual story. And empowering the guests to tell their own story of their experiences is the most important story to tell.
Awesome. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today, so please give our great speaker another hand.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.